Hello, I'm Nathan.
And I'm Jody, and this is Word on the Web.
You know, I was thinking, what is so amazing about being us?
What is so amazing about being us, Nathan?
We get to see an incredible amount of good across the community. And you had a very busy week last week.
I did.
Can you share?
Yeah, it was crazy because goodness came in like a big clump, and it actually really brought my soul all the restoration it needed. But in this community and across the country and probably the world, there are these groups of people who gather for good. And they do it kind of quietly. You don't even know it's happening until you get the call where like you're going to be a recipient of their good work. And so this week it just happened to all fall on top of each other. And so I just wanted to do a shout out.
Yeah, tell us about your week.
Yeah, first I'd like to say thank you to the Meridian Lions Club. So this group is an international group. There's so much to learn about them. They're in 220 countries, and their impact is enormous, but they do it in these small club settings where these group of people gather far too early, 7 a.m. for my meeting to go do my presentation. But once I got there, it's just so like apple pie, you know, like they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. They're just so grounded and good. And they raise money, and then they they gave me a check after I did my presentation, and they gave me a coffee mug, and it was really touching. And then like right after that, we were nominated to be one of the speakers at Impact Club. Impact Clubs happen across the country as well. Mike Turner and his wife Amanda host the Impact Club for Boise. And we went out to a little park where three of us are getting to like make our pitch to have their members who all donate money to make a purse of money for good.
Okay.
And so basically they're just there to bring themselves and their dollars together to somehow make some impact for a few of us. And all of us are winners. One of us takes away the grand prize, but you know, that money matters right now.
To even be part of the three, right? One of the three
absolutely
is great.
Is great. And then we capped off the week with the Eagles Lodge number 115. I tried to do some research. I'm not quite sure what the 115 means. Maybe it's the number of the different Eagle Lodges that happen across, it seems, the country as well. But this is their special night where throughout the year they raise money, mostly bingo, I think.
Okay.
And then they call a group of nonprofits together and they just give us really generous checks.
Oh,
and it was
so great.
All of us, like all the nonprofits are there, and these people are just with the goodness of their heart saying like, we do this all year so that we can help you do the work. And they're so modest and kind. And then like as I was leaving, they gave me 5 huge boxes of Depends to take back to the shelter that they had been gathering for, and they drop off turkeys during, like, you just don't know what's happening. Yeah. And so I want to do a call out to all these organizations, and I'll come to speak to any of them, but we see you and what you need to know. It matters so much. Like, we're richer in feeling and financially because of the week that I got to have. So I just wanted to do that call out.
That's an awesome way to start this week's Word on the Web.
Yeah, I love it.
Love it. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Now I'm really excited to introduce our special guest, Molly Ballison, who is the editor-in-chief of Word on the Street, and she's also the newest cast member of Word on the Web. She's going to be our roving reporter.
Really excited to have you as part of the team. And you are going to answer for one of our viewers, Karen, the question for today, which is, what is it like for a guest when they first arrive at the shelter?
Yes, I'm excited to bring more stories to Word on the Web, and so we'll show you what I learned from Kate. Hi, I'm Molly, Word on the Street's editor-in-chief and Word on the Web's special reporter, and I'm here at Interfaith Sanctuary's current emergency shelter. I'll be asking Kate a question we received from a Word on the Web viewer named Karen in regards to the intake process here at the River Street shelter. So let's get some insight from Kate. Hi Hi, Kate. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Molly?
Good. So we
Good.
had a word on the web viewer ask a question about the intake process here at the River Street Shelter. So I was hoping you could give us some insight onto what that process looks like for new guests coming in.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
So while Interfaith Sanctuary functions out of this facility, what can new guests expect when they walk into the shelter for the first time?
Yeah, that's a super great question. I'm happy you're asking. A couple just basic in-the-door things that a guest is going to be dealing with is usually me. They usually are going to be meeting with a staff member just to make sure we make contact with them physically and get an ID from them if they have one. The only reason a resident would not be able to stay here is if they're required to register as a sex offender. So we always check that through ID. And then once we have that verified that that's not an issue, we go forward with an intake packet.
And what does that intake packet involve?
So the intake packet is basically the walkthrough of what we expect from residents and what we are going to be giving residents, essentially. So it's kind of like, here's what you can expect from me to serve you and what I'm going to be able to do for you. And then here's how our shelter operates as a whole, so you know where you need to be, when you need to be there.
So that's how they learn about expectations and options available to them.
Like, exactly. They learn about nightly operations, about what the timeline is like, because we kind of have a specific timeline we follow each evening. And then along with that, they also are offered case management options as well as recovery and mental health programming.
Okay, great. What does that timeline in the evening look like?
Yeah, so right now we're in the little pre-time phase where we're not really open, quote. Usually that time starts around 4, that like time wave. And so what we'll do is we'll take our first thing on that kind of timeline is we take a wait list at 4:30 p.m. every day. It's what we found to be the best way to just make contact with people who are wanting to stay that evening who don't already stay or don't have a bed to stay in currently. So once we get that list, that's kind of how we guesstimate how many people we're expecting to shelter that night. And then we go from there with the bed assignments and opening.
Okay, great. And can people stay all day or all night, or how does that work?
It's going to be definitely, when we're at the new shelter, that's going to be a different answer. But at this moment in time, the folks who can stay inside are medically fragile. So folks who maybe have higher medical needs and can't be outside in the exposure all day because it puts them at a higher risk for a health issue. Or if they're in our mental health programming or our recovery programming.
Okay.
So otherwise, if they're not in those programs, we ask that they leave in the morning at 8:15 and go over to Corpus Christi, or if they're working with a case manager. So if they're seeking like resources like benefit support, job applications, housing applications, just kind of general case management stuff, they would be allowed to stay in to work on that.
Otherwise, everyone else is allowed to come in at 4:30 for that wait list process.
Yeah, so we open our bullpen, quote bullpen. It's just a fence that we have just to kind of keep the perimeter clear of what the perimeter of Interfaith is. We open that at 4:30 and we take that wait list, and then 30 minutes later at 5 is when we open our actual doors for everyone to come inside the building.
And that's on the back side of the
Yeah,
property.
and that's on the back side. So that's going to be, this is like the front door, but this is like the real front door because that's
Okay,
where everyone's
yeah.
actually coming through. So if anything, that's like the back door. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. What do meals look like for? How are meals handled when a guest is coming for the evening?
So we do have a food program here that I am super a fan of, but we have an operational like food trailer kitchen. It's a commercial kitchen inside of a food trailer basically. And we have residents who rotate in and out each night serving dinner that we get from Life's Kitchen or just donations that we receive from the community. Depending on what we have available to us is what we'll be serving. So
Great. And guests can be involved in serving in that way.
Guests are always they're more than welcome. We encourage volunteer work around the shelter. It gives people kind of something to do, so they're not just like sitting idly. And it makes people feel good, and it makes other people happy to be able to do something that they know makes a good impact. So.
Great. And you have a chore system, right? Is that just for programmers or every
The chore
all guests?
chart, yes. So everyone who has a bunk in this building has a chore assigned to them based numerically on their bunk number. So we have 74 bunks in the men's dorm. So if I was a man staying there and I was in bunk 32, let's say, I would have a chore assigned to me on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I would have a bed strip once a week. So that means I would get new bedding once a week. I would take all of my old bedding off, give it to laundry, and then get new bedding that night. So everyone gets new bedding once a week, and then they have chores twice a week that they sign up for in the morning.
Okay, great. And so all this is taking place at our current River Street shelter.
Yeah.
And that will
It's gonna look drastically different.
look different and improve in the new State Street shelter. What are you most looking forward to in that new shelter?
Oh God, there's so many answers. I'm just so looking forward to having like adequate support for our community, because that building and that space, like it's not just a building, like it's gonna be like, it's a housing solution. It's kind of almost like, I didn't really understand what this project was at first, because I was like, it's not like a shelter, then what is it? And it's like a housing solution. So essentially like what we're hoping to be doing is kind of rotating people through and then getting them to that next resource so they can hopefully get housed faster, which is super exciting. I love hearing that. It makes me so excited because I love this community and they deserve to have their needs met. And currently as it stands in this building, we're doing everything we can, but I know that there's something more we can do, hence we're going to do more. We're going to go to the new building, and I'm just really excited.
Mm-hmm. The new shelter home.
New shelter home! Exactly, yes, shelter home.
And how do you make people feel welcome when they come through the door for the first time and it's new for them?
Yeah, being unhoused is very terrifying, and it's very emotionally taxing. I have been unhoused before. I know how stressful it can be. I haven't been in a shelter environment, and I'm very lucky that I was able to kind of get out of that situation before I was eventually going to have to be in a shelter. But nonetheless, that feeling of just not knowing where you belong is very difficult to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so what I try to do when I meet somebody new who's in this environment, whether they've been chronically homeless or whether this is their first time in their entire life and they have no idea what's going on, same expectation of kindness and compassion when I meet them of just, hey, I'm here to make this space safe for you. I'm here to advocate for you and help you get your needs met. I'm gonna work just as hard as you'll work hard. So whatever it takes to get you to your goal, we'll do that. So I always just try to like really emphasize that like I am here to support their goal, whatever that is in their autonomy, in the sense of if they want to get housing, if they want to get a job, if they want to start school, whatever their priorities are, I want to meet them where they're at.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that from a lot of guests that say you are an encouragement to them on a daily basis. So keep doing what you're doing.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your insight, Kate.
Of course, Molly. Thank you for chatting with me.
Thanks, Kate. Let's go back to Jody and Nathan for the rest of this Word on the Web episode.
Molly, that was such a great story. You and Kate, I'm sorry, you guys are so charming and articulate, and really, you made it really easy for us to see what that whole process was like. And as the executive director of Interfaith Sanctuary, I can't tell you how grateful I am that our guests get to meet Kate. That if they're having to walk through our doors and that she's someone that they get to see. Our staff is so special in how they are able to understand what that moment feels like.
They really are, and Kate is such a comforting presence to guests, and I've heard from multiple people that she's such an encouragement to them. So she's like the perfect person to give us this insight of how she makes people feel welcome.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for doing that
Absolutely.
special report. We look forward to many more special reports to come. And to our audience, please keep your questions coming. We'll either do a special field report or Jody and I will answer it here in studio.
Just depends on what we feel like and what we're wearing that day.
Right? We never know what's
You never know how it's going to come
happen.
out on Word on the Web. We're wacky that way.
Yep. But we really appreciate you watching, listening, and being part of the Interfaith community, our family.
Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.